Hello, hello, travelers. Welcome. And today, as you can see, we are here with Tales with Time. We are continuing Project Hail Mary. We have not gotten very far in the book. Like we're literally in the middle of chapter 4, and we've done 2 streams of this already. So, when are you going to add those new things I gave you a few weeks ago? I literally have been meaning to get on that. It's just been like so hectic. Like I have the files in my iPad because I have to like resize them in my iPad, and I just have not had like the time to get to them. But I'm going to do them. Trust, I'm going to get them in there. I also have to go through all my old emojis and stuff. Oops, I have to go through all my other stuff first. All the old stuff. You didn't hear me say that earlier. I want to use one of them right now. You simp. Listen, listen. No, here is my reasoning. Okay, I'm loving Book Grace so far. Okay, Book Grace, love him. He's just like, I love the vibes. He's kind and caring, and he's like a good teacher, and he's just so sweet, and like he has that kicked puppy dog vibe. But also movie Grace, who's played by Ryan Gosling, perfect man, by the way. Oh god, it's just perfect. I just can't. I can't not like him. Like I just love him. What are you doing over there, sir? My dog is being weird. He's snuffling around the bed. What are you doing? What are you doing, Stinky? Oh, you did good boy. I was playing around with him. I was a bit of an ass to him earlier because I went upstairs to grab a soda, and I came back down, and he ran over to where my grandma was sitting on the couch, and I was like, "Oh, are you gonna sleep with grandma tonight?" Because he sleeps with me usually. He always sleeps with me. He like will not sleep anywhere else. Um, and so I saw him go run over to my grandma, and I was like, "Oh, are you gonna sleep with grandma tonight?" And he looked at me like with the most betrayed look ever. And I was like, "Okay, you sleep with grandma then." And so I went into my room, and he started following behind me. I was like, "Oh, no, no, no. You want to sleep with grandma? You can sleep with grandma." And my grandma looked at me, and she's like, "Don't be a bitch." And then he sulked behind me on my bed while I was setting up for the stream. I would never leave you to sleep out there, baby. Never. Never ever. You always sleep with me. Yeah. He's giving me a side eye right now. He's not happy with me. Anyway, I hope everyone had a good Thursday. Ugh, it doesn't feel like Thursday to me, but also I was out sick the last 2 days, so nothing like bullying the pets. It's my pet though, so like it's just tough love is what it is. Also, my drink of choice today is Fanta because I was craving orange something. So, and I didn't want to drink orange juice, so it was pretty good Thursday, all things considered. You know, it's fair. I'm glad tomorrow's Friday. Oh my god, I get paid today. Well, later tonight anyway. I get paid. My paycheck comes in, and I'm so excited. I get paid a lot more in the summer than I do the school year, so I'm just so excited for that. Also, I got my nails painted today by like a bunch of 5-year-olds, so I sent pictures in the discords of my fingernails, and they honestly don't look too bad like right now because I washed off the like excess nail polish that was like on my skin, because you know when kids paint your fingernails they literally just like try to dump the whole bottle on your fucking nail. So I was like, "Oh, okay." But no, they don't look that bad. It's very they kind of are like Christmas colors, which is really interesting. Like you wouldn't think with like the purple and stuff it would be very Christmassy, but no, that's like it's like pretty Christmassy colored, and so I keep looking at them. Also, I have different colors on all my nails, and like one hand to me now looks like more yellow compared to the other, which is really weird. Right now I'm at 50 hours of work, and I still have tomorrow and Friday to work. Well, tomorrow is Friday. Skelly, tomorrow is Friday. What? You mean tomorrow on Saturday? Is that what are you sniffing for? Sir, what are you doing? Harvest Moon, what are you doing? Oh, you're bringing a toy over. He was searching for something. So I was like, what are you doing? He doesn't usually do that. Usually he'll just lay around me while I stream, but apparently he's in a playful mood. You in a playful mood? Yeah, you gonna be a little monster to stream. Yes. Oh, yep. Kick your little legs out. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do your little kicks. I should probably sleep, but I'm doing nerd magic stuff. You know what? That's fair. That's so fair. Um Oh, you're just so sweet. Yeah, you're just such a sweet boy. Oh, I love you. Mommy needs to get you another collar though. He hasn't worn a collar in like a couple months now because his other one, um, he, I took it off of him when I was giving him a bath, and then I forgot to put it back on, and he got it and destroyed it. Like he chewed through it, chewed all the metal off of it is a better way to say it because that's exactly what he did. So I have to go get him a new collar, which I just have not done because like he's pretty good about staying with me even like when we're out and stuff. Like he doesn't like I only take him out in my cars, but when we're like hiking, like not hiking, well, because we haven't gone hiking yet this summer, but like walking and stuff, he stays pretty close to me. So it's not really a problem or anything, but nah, he needs a collar. He's also chipped, so if he ever runs away from home, I'll always catch him. When he was a puppy, though, he used to like jump the fence all the time, and the fence was so much taller than him. He's a miniature Australian Shepherd. He's not regular size, but oh my god, he can jump like so fucking high. Like he also would use my parents' Labradoodle as a springboard to jump over the fence when he was a puppy. Yeah, I'm telling all your dirty little secrets. Yeah, I am. He's giving me a side eye look. Hi, Gilbert. I haven't started reading just yet. I'm talking about my dog's dark past right now, and he's glaring at me as I do it. But no, as a puppy, he would jump the fence, and there was one time he jumped the fence, and we couldn't like I couldn't find him. Like we couldn't find him anywhere, and I was like what near the end of high school at that time, and so I was like, oh my god, my dog is gone, I'm never gonna see him again. Well, on like our neighborhood's like page, like Facebook page, they posted a picture of this Australian shepherd in the back of a police car, and it was the that area's police asking if anyone lost their dog. And so my mom had to message them and be like, "Yeah, that's our dog." So the police car, he was literally sitting in the back like a criminal, and literally drove him back to our house. Yeah, you naughty boy. Yeah, you wiggle in your butt like you're not, but you are. He's a miniature Australian Shepherd. Oh yeah, he's a little bundle of energy. He is, but he's very snuggle. He's a very snuggle bug. If it's me, if it's anybody else, he doesn't really care that much. Well, and my grandma, he's very snuggly with my grandma. But anybody else, he don't really give a shit about. Speaking of, I also remember when I was younger, my phone, like it did this thing, like I had it for like a couple years, and it started doing this thing where the screen would just go completely black, and like you could still like hear noise coming from it, but like nothing was playing on screen, like it was just completely black. And so one night I got out of the shower and it did that, and I was like, oh my god. So I kept like holding down buttons and pressing down buttons, and I forgot that when you hold down like the power button on an iPhone, when you hold down the power button and like the um up noise button, it like does the SOS thing, and if you like continue to keep holding it down, like you don't have to swipe SOS, it'll automatically just call the cops. And that's what it did. This is like 3 in the morning, by the way. It was also like definitely a school night. And I just remember accidentally calling the cops, but the screen was still black, and I kept hearing the operator like talking to me and be like, ma'am, is everything okay? And I legitimately like clicked the power off button again to like hang up. So I hung up on them. And then I went upstairs to my parents' room, and I like literally I stood like by my mom's side of the bed, and I was like, "Oh, do I tell her that I accidentally called the cops, or do we just like pretend it never happened?" And I was like, "Ooh, no, I probably should tell her." So I eventually, like after standing there for like 10 minutes, I poked my mom, and she was like, "What?" And I was like, I called the cops, and she was like, "Why?" And I was like, "It was an accident." She's like, "What were you doing for it to be an accident?" I was like, "Well, my phone screen went black again, so I held down the power button and the sound button, and it called the cops." And like literally right after I said that, there was a knock on our door at 3 in the morning, and I was like, "Oh fuck, I'm going to jail. I fucking accidentally called the cops, and now they're here to take me away." And so my mom got out of bed and went to answer the door, and they're like, "Hey, we're just checking, like we got a call from a phone in this like in this household." And I like peek around my mom, and I was like, "Oh, that was me." And they were like, "Well, are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I'm fine, literally. It's just," I literally showed them my phone, and I was like, I was trying to turn my phone on and they were like, "What?" And I was like, "No, no, no, listen." I was like, "The screen doesn't work." And I was trying to get it to work, so I was holding down the power and the like sound button, and they were like, "Okay, that's dumb as fuck." And I was like, "Yeah, that's my bad." And then there was another time when I had just we're just gonna like spend like 20 minutes just yapping, you know? But like now I'm on a tirade of like all these stories. Um, Mom, I called 911. Yeah, literally. No, but there was another time I had just gotten my first car. I know, sorry, Lemus, my bad. I don't know why it was broken, but whatever. No, but I literally, there was this one time, I had just gotten a car, like my very first car, and I was leaving my work and it was night and I had just gotten my first ever oil change. Well, when people were doing my oil change, they turned off my like headlights and stuff because I have automatic headlights on my car at the time, but there was a way you could turn them off to where they weren't automatic, and I didn't know that. And so I literally was leaving work. I worked at a Pizza Hut at the time. I was leaving work and I was heading back home and I was like, damn, why is it so fucking dark? I was like, why can't I see anything? Like, is my vision getting that bad? And as I was thinking this, I see cop lights start flashing behind me. And so I pull over and I'm like, I wasn't speeding. Like, why is this dude pulling me over? And so the cop walks up to my window and he was like, he looked at me. I think he realized like that I was in high school. And he looked at me and he was like, "What are you doing out this late?" And I was like, "Oh, I just got off of work." And I showed him my shirt because you didn't have a Pizza Hut uniform. I was like, "I work at Pizza Hut. It's like right down the road." And he was like, "Why are your lights off?" And I was like, "My what are off?" And he's like, "Your lights are off." And I was like, "What lights?" He was like, "Your headlights, they're off." And I was like, "They are?" He probably thought I was the dumbest fucking bitch ever. And he was like, "Yeah, can you turn them back on?" And I was like, "I'm gonna be so for real with you. I don't know how to turn them back on." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "I just got this car and I just took it for an oil change. I don't know how to turn the lights back on. I didn't even notice they were off." And he was like, "You didn't notice they were off?" And I was like, "No, sir, I did not." And he was like, "How did you not notice?" Yeah. He's like, "How did you not notice that your lights are off? It's pitch black out here." Because it's out in the middle of nowhere, right? And I was like, "Listen, it's like 11 at night, dude. I just don't I just don't know." And he's like, "Okay, well, I'm not gonna like give you a warning or a ticket or anything." And he was like, "But can you open your door and step out?" And I was like, "Oh my god, he's not gonna give me a warning and ticket because he's gonna fucking arrest me." This is my interaction with every cop I've ever like met is just, I'm gonna go to jail. Okay. I was like, "Oh my god, he's gonna arrest me because I didn't have my lights on." So like I got out and I was like, "Oh, should I put my hands out in front of me or like behind me?" 'Cause sometimes they ask for you to put your hands out in front of you, but sometimes they ask for it behind you. And so I was like, I started just like crowding against my car and getting ready to do like the like pose to get searched, right? And he literally just leans into my car and like flips a switch and then my lights turn on. And he was like, "All right, your lights are fixed." And I was like, "Oh, thanks." And he was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "By the way, let your parents know they need to teach you how to use your fucking car." And I was like, "Yes, sir." And then I got back in my car and he left. And I was sitting there and then I finally called my parents. This is again 11 at night. And I called my mom. I was like, "Hey, so I just got pulled over." And my mom was like, "Were you speeding?" And I was like, "No, I didn't have my lights on." And she's like, "What?" It's like I didn't know I didn't have my lights on and he pulled me over because I didn't have my lights on. And she was like, "Yeah, he probably thought you were like a drug dealer or something, like trying to sneak past or something." And I was like, "Well, he turned them back on. He also said you guys need to teach me how to use my car." And he was like, and my mom was like, "Yeah, because you're a fucking dumbass." So, yeah, I'm guessing you didn't read the I didn't even know it came with a fucking instruction manual. I'll be so honest. Like, we got the car, like, it was for a sale. And it had a lot of like hail damage at the time. And so it was like, it was already a like owned car. And I just like I learned the basics like how to drive, reverse, park, all that stuff. But everything else I was like, I don't need to know that. Like it's probably not important. Listen, the glove box, infinite void for me. Anything that goes in there never comes back out. Hail damage like Hail Mary. Oh my god, crazy message. Okay, I see. Yes, I'm going to get into the book now. Okay. But yes, welcome in everyone. If you heard my like 20 minutes of ranting, I'm so sorry. We're going to start the book now. Remind me not to ride with you. I'm actually a very good driver, okay? I am the like designated driver for like all my coworkers and stuff that I hang out with, so I'm actually a pretty good driver. All right. But anyway, we are here with Project Hail Mary for Tales with Time. We are only in chapter 4. I didn't realize how long each chapter was. I don't know if we were just used to reading like super short chapters, because like I feel like we've been reading super short chapter books. But we're in chapter 4. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and go over my expectations like I usually do. 2 AD. But yes, expectations. Number 1, that was ranting. Yeah, no. Anyway, number 1, no spoilers. You may know what happens in the movie. You may know what happens in the book. That is completely fine. Please try not to spoil it for anybody else. I love spoilers. I don't mind them, but not everybody is on the same page as me with that. So please just respect that and don't spoil anything. Yes. Pocket, did you know that the book is called Hail Mary? Oh my gosh, I did not. Oh my god. Such a ruining spoiler. Okay, well, listen, Lemus. I didn't read ahead, but I've had TikTok show like parts of the book, like little dialogue parts of the book. That's not that. It's not technically spoilers because they kind of also coincide with the movie. So, my big ass fingers and a small. If that was ranting, I would take it as you do it so gentle. Oh, thank you, Gilbert. What? It's not even my fault. They pop up on my TikTok, bro. Anyway, number 2, respect. Listen, you guys might have different opinions about what's happening in the book, about themes in the book, all that jazz. That's perfectly fine. Just remember to respect other people's opinions and they will respect yours. Having said that, another thing about respect for me, I don't care if you guys talk in the chat, that's fine. I'll stop and talk to you occasionally too while reading. Just don't spam things like, I'm hoping Skelly is still awake to take it away. Yep, there we go. Don't spam things like dick, ass, boobs, etc., all that stuff. We don't need that. Translated to keep it clean, you trolls. Yes. Also, having said that, number 3, I'm not a professional reader. I don't do the cool, like, elaborate voices or accents or anything like that. I also stumble on my words a lot, or I'll, like, read a sentence, pause, and then reread the sentence because I'm like, that didn't make any sense. And so, but if you want to check out the actual audiobook reading, I've heard it is fantastic. I don't know who it's by. I'll have to look that up later for next time. But there's an audiobook, and actually check out the book and check out the movie. It is all fantastic. We're not having rain. It's not a sad book or a horror book. It's like sci-fi. I should play sci-fi music, but it'll probably get copyrighted. So there's no rain. So don't forget, I'm not muted. You guys have literally been listening to me this whole time and responding. So I'm not muted. Okay. But yes, I'm here to listen to the professional reader known as Pocket of Time, and I'm ready for the many voices and dramatic reading. Okay. I did not press mute. My buddy Sis got this book for B-Day. Oh, it's so good. I'm loving it, even though we're only in chapter 4. Okay. You have a good reading voice, and it is okay if lines or words are love the reading. Thank you. For some reason, like, my favorite word to stumble on is any word that resembles cock. Literally, like, it could be, what was it, last book? It was cook, and I just kept saying cock, and I was like, I just need to move on. We just gotta move on. But also, I'm very immature, and I'll start laughing at myself. And I try not to, because I know some of you fall asleep to this stream, right? And so you're like looking for like the like mellow voice and the like quiet like reading, and then you just hear my fucking loud ass cackling because I'm fucking immature about fucking words or like a sentence that was said. But anyway, those are my expectations. You guys know them, you guys love them, you guys respect them. I appreciate it. We are not in chapter 3, we're in chapter 4. See words like that, we should have a drinking game out of it, for literally. Literally anytime I stumble. No, actually, if I did a drinking game out of any time I stumbled while reading, I would be drunk. I was right about the guy you were simping for. You know what? Whatever. You missed my simp fest earlier, actually. I was simping about Grace, so. See how many of us are sober. we would all be done. We would all be done. Let me take a sip of my Fanta real quick. And take a shot whenever you die. Fuck. I would never make it. Like, I would get like 10 minutes into the stream and just be wasted. And she changed her opinions about Michael just because he was a killer. Like John Wick movies. Yeah. All right. I've been yapping for almost 30 minutes now, guys. That means we've got like an hour and a half to get through this 4th chapter, okay? We're going to be so far behind in this book. And it's also a very thick book, actually. It's like impressively thick. Like thicker than never mind, I'm not gonna finish the sentence. Did you take your meds and drink all your drinks? No, I take my meds after stream. Okay. And I did drink all my drinks. Never been passed out so fast. Yeah, I bet. I would be scared for Grace's safety if PP was in space with him. I would be scared for him too. Not gonna lie, I'm a freaking monster. Okay, sorry. Okay, we're getting on to the reading. My bad. We stopped in the middle of chapter 4, by the way. God, it's fucking hot in my room. But also, I've been like wiggling in my chair because I have a lot of energy in me at the moment. And so I've like nonstop been like moving in my chair. I don't know if you can hear it. My chair's not very like creaky, but I've literally just been like, you can't, I don't even have a model to show like my movement right now. So you just get the bird face. Anyway, let me not get distracted. Okay. I say as I keep getting messages on my phone that I keep glancing at. Anyway, chapter 4. We were right in the middle of it. Oh, yes, I see. So we're about to jump into like one of his memories is where we stopped off at. Oh, yes, he just did the like funeral for his comrades. Oh yeah, speaking of, thank you Gilbert, I saw you can contribute those points. I do have a new community challenge up. It is for a lore video drop, so if you want to contribute points to that, go gore video. Yeah, all right. Anyway, now I'm actually going to start. Welcome back, Mr. Grace, said Teresa. The kids all sat in their desks, primed for science class. Thanks, Teresa, I said. Michael piped in. The substitute teacher was boring. Well, I'm not, I said. I picked up 4 plastic bins from the corner. Today we're going to look at rocks. Okay, maybe that is a little boring. A chuckle from the kids. I didn't actually mean to chuckle before that. I was looking at Lemus's posture check, and I'm like, how are you going to know if I'm actually correcting my posture? Anyway. You're gonna divide it to 4 teams, and each team will get a bin. You have to separate the rocks into igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. First team to finish and get every rock correctly categorized gets beanbags. Can we pick our own teams? Trang asked excitedly. Oh my god, I forgot about this kid. This kid named Trang. I've never heard of that. It seems like I've never heard of that name, Trang, Trang. To me, it just seems like a parent was trying to spell triangle and just gave up halfway and just decided on Trang. So, anyway. No, that just leads to a bunch of drama because children are animals. Horrible, horrible animals. Everyone laughed. Teams will be alphabetical. So the first team is... Abby raised her hand. Mr. Grace, can I ask a question? Sure. What's happening to the sun? The whole class suddenly grew much more attentive. My dad says it's not a big deal, Michael said. My dad says it's a government conspiracy, said Tamora. Okay. I set the bins down and sat on the edge of my desk. So, basically, you know how there's algae in the ocean, right? Well, there's sort of a space algae growing in the sun. Yeah, sun go boom, boom, boom. I lost where I was. Oh. Where was I? Oh, there it is. Astrophage? Said Harrison. I almost slipped off the desk. What? Where did you hear that word? That's what they're calling it now, said Harrison. The president called it that in the speech last night. I'd been so isolated in that lab, I didn't even know that the president had given a speech. And holy cow, I invented that word for strat the day Strat the day before. And that time it got from her to the president and the media. One whole day? Damn. She really was like, I'm gonna snatch that word from you and we're gonna give it. Like we're giving it to the president. Jesus Christ. Wow. Okay, yes, astrophage. And it's growing on the sun. Or near it. People aren't sure. So, what's the problem? Michael asked. Algae in the ocean doesn't hurt us. Why would algae on the sun? President hip with it like that? Oh, yeah. I pointed to him. Good question. Thing is, astrophage is starting to absorb a lot of the sun's energy. Well, not a lot, just a tiny percentage. But that means Earth gets a tiny bit less sunlight, and that can cause real problems. So, it'll be a little colder? Like a degree or two? Abby asked. What's the big deal? You guys know about climate change, right? How our CO2 emissions have caused a lot of problems in the environment? My dad says that's not real, said Tamora. Well, your dad's a fucking idiot, Tamora. Sorry. Well, it is, I said. Anyway, all the environmental problems we have from climate change, they happen because the world's average temperature went up 1.5 degrees. That's it. Just 1.5 degrees. How much will this astrophage stuff change Earth's temperature? Asked Luther. I stood and paced slowly in front of the class. We don't know, but if it breeds like algae does, at about that same speed. Climatologists are saying Earth's temperature could drop 10 to 15 degrees. What'll happen? Luther asked. It'll be bad. Very bad. A lot of animals, entire species, will die out because their habitats are too cold. The ocean water will cool down too, and it might cause an entire food chain collapse. So, even things that could survive the lower temperatures will starve to death because the things they eat all die off. The kids stared at me, awestruck. Why had their parents not explained this to them? Probably because they didn't understand it themselves. Besides, I don't believe in science. Oh, I see. Besides, if I had a nickel for every time I wanted to smack a kid's parents for not teaching them even the most basic things, well, I'd have enough nickels to put in a sock and smack those parents with. Oh my god, I feel that deep in my soul. Animals are going to die too? Abby asked, horrified. Abby rode horses competitively and spent most of her time. Oh my god, this bitch is rich. No wonder she's fucking snobby. Sorry. Let me just rezone in. Let me just refocus. Okay. Abby rode horses competitively and spent most of her time at her grandfather's dairy farm. Human suffering is often an abstract concept to kids, but animal suffering is something else entirely. Oh well. Yes, I'm sorry, but but a lot of livestock will die, and it's worse than that. On land, crops will fail. The food we eat will become scarce. When that happens, the social order often breaks down, and I stopped myself there. These were kids. Why was I going this far? How? Abby began. I'd never seen her at a loss for words. How long before this happens? Well, climatologists think it'll happen within the next 30 years, I said. Just like that, all the kids relaxed. 30 years? Trang laughed. That's forever. Just like your name, buddy. Just like your name. It's not that long, I said. But to a bunch of 12 and 13-year-olds, 30 years may as well be a million. Can I be on Tracy's team for the rock sorting assignment? Asked Michael. 30 years. I looked at their little faces. In 30 years, they'd all be in their early 40s. They would bear the brunt of it all, and it wouldn't be easy. These kids were going to grow going to grow up in an in an idyllic world and be thrown into an apocalyptic nightmare. They were the generation that would experience the sixth extinction event. 30 years, that's long enough for Pokemon cards to be expensive. That's true. Amen. It's also plenty of time to start your own, like, bunker and find ways to survive the cold. Just saying. But, I mean, okay. I felt a cramp in the pit of my stomach. I was looking out at a room full of children. Happy children. And there was a good chance some of them would literally die of starvation. Well, that's a dark thought. Jesus. I I stammered. I have to go do a thing. Forget the rock assignment. What? Asked Luther. Do study hall. This is study hall for the rest of the hour. Just do homework from other classes. Stay in your seats and work quietly until the bell rings. I left the room without another word. I almost collapsed in the hall from the shakes. Oh, poor baby. Ugh. I went to a nearby drinking fountain and splashed water on my face. Ooh, that's kind of gross. Sorry. Then I'm struggling to focus today, aren't I? That's crazy. Oh my gosh. Then I took a deep breath, got some self-control back, and jogged to the parking lot. I drove fast, way too fast. I ran red lights. I cut people off. I never do any of that. But that day was different. That day was, I don't even know. I screeched into the lab parking lot and left my car parked at an odd angle. 2 U.S. Army soldiers were at the doors to the complex. Just as they had been the previous 2 days while I'd been working there. I stormed past them. Should we have stopped him? I heard one ask the other. I didn't care what the response was. I stomped into the observation room. Strat was there, of course, reading her tablet. She looked up, and I caught a glimpse of genuine surprise on her face. Dr. Grace? What are you doing here? Past her, through the windows, I spotted 4 people in containment suits working in the lab. Who are they? I said, pointing at the window. And what are they doing in my lab? Can't say I like your tone, she said. I don't care. And it's not your lab. It's my lab. Those technicians are collecting the astrophage. What are you going to do with it? She held her tablet under her arm. Your dream is coming true. I'm dividing up the astrophage and sending it to 30 different labs around the world. Everything from CERN to CIA bioweapons facility. The CIA has a bio... I began. Never mind. I want to do more work on this. She shook her head. You've done your part. We thought it was, and what the fuck is that word? We thought it... I don't know why I'm trying to fix my fucking glasses like that's gonna help me read the word. I could see the word just fine. I just don't know how to say the word. We thought it was an anhydrous life. Okay, I think I got that. Turns out it wasn't. You proved that. And since no alien exploded out of your chest, we can consider the guinea pig phase over too. So you're done. We are gonna kill them damn aliens by blasting their sun. No, I'm not done. There's a lot more to learn. Of course there is, she said. And I have 30 labs all eagerly waiting to get started on it. I stepped forward. Leave some astrophage here. Let me work it some more. She stepped forward as well. No. Why not? Well, according to your notes, there were 174 living astrophage cells in the sample, and you killed one yesterday, so we're down to 173. She pointed to her tablet. Each of these labs, huge national labs, will get 5 or 6 cells each. That's it. We're down to that level of scarcity. Those cells are the 173 most important things on Earth right now. Our analysis of them will determine if humanity survives. She paused and spoke a little more softly. I get it. You spent your whole life trying to prove that life doesn't require water. Then, unbelievably, you get some actual extraterrestrial life and it turns out to need water. That's rough. Shake it off and get back to your life. I've got it from here. I'm still a microbiologist who spent his career working up to theoretical models for alien life. I'm a useful resource with a skill set almost no one else has. He killed one and they went from 175 to 173. I don't trust this woman's account. Is she a fake scientist? Hold on. Where was I? Oh. Dr. Grace, I don't have the luxury of leaving samples here just to stroke your bruised ego. Ego? This isn't about my ego. It's about my children. You don't have children. Yes, I do. Dozens of them. They come to my class every day, and they're all going to end up in a Mad Max nightmare world if we don't solve this problem. Yeah, I was wrong about the water. I don't care about that. I care about those kids. So give me some gosh darned astrophage. She stepped back and pursed her lips. She looked to the side, thinking it over. Then she turned back to me. 3. You can have 3 astrophage. I unclenched my muscles. Okay, I breathed a little. I didn't realize how tense I'd been. Okay, 3. I can work with that. She typed on her tablet. I'll keep this lab open. It's all yours. Come back in a few hours and my guys will be gone. I was already halfway into a containment suit. I'm getting back to work now. Tell your guys to stay out of my way. She glared at me, but didn't say anything further. That's not the end of chapter 4, but that's the end of the memory that Grace had. Let me take a sip of my drink. There we go. I have to do this for my kids. He's back in the present now. I mean, they're not my kids, but they're my kids. I feel that so hard though. I look at the screens arrayed before me. I need to think about this. Yeah, I am, Lemus. You can hear it, I know. My memory is spotty. Seems reliable enough, but incomplete. Instead of waiting for an epiphany where I remember everything, what can I work out right now? Earth is in trouble. The sun is infected with astrophage. I'm in a spaceship in another solar system. The ship wasn't easy to build, and it had an international crew. We're talking about an interstellar mission, something that should be impossible with our technology. Okay, so humanity put a lot of time and effort into this mission, and astrophage was the missing link that enabled it. There's only one explanation. There's a solution to the astrophage problem here, or a potential solution. Something promising enough to dedicate a huge amount of resources. I scour the screens for more info. Mostly, they seem to be the kinds of things you'd expect on a spaceship. Life support, navigation, that sort of thing. One screen is labeled Beatles. The next screen over says, wait, Beatles? Okay. I don't know if it has anything to do with anything, but I need to find out if there are a bunch of beetles on this ship. That's the sort of thing a guy needs to know. The screen is broken into 4 quadrants, each one showing nearly the same thing. A little schematic and a bunch of text information. The schematics each show a bulbous, oblong shape with a pointed head and trapezoid on the back. If you tilt your head just right and squint, I suppose it kind of looks like a beetle. Each beetle also has a name up top. John, Paul, George, and Ringo. Yeah, I get it. I'm not laughing, but I get it. I don't get it, but it's fine. I arbitrarily pick one beetle, John, and give it a good look. John is no insect. I'm pretty sure he's a spacecraft. The trapezoid in the rear is labeled spin drive, and the entire bulbous part is labeled fuel. The little head has a computer label and a radio label. I look a little closer. The fuel info box says astrophage, 120 kilograms, temp 96 degrees, 400 or 96.415 degrees Celsius. The computer box says last memory check, 3 days ago. 5, I don't know what that, TB functioning correctly. And the radio info just says status, 100%. Oh, is it the Beatles band? Oh, I never listened to the Beatles, so I know. I'm so lame. It's an unmanned probe. Something small, I guess. The entire mass of the fuel is just 120 kilograms. That's not a lot. But a little astrophage goes a long way. There aren't any scientific instruments labeled. What's the point of an unmanned ship with nothing on board? Wait, what if the 5 terabytes, that's what it was, TB terabytes, of storage is the point of the ship? A realization dawns on me. Oh, shucks, I say. I'm out in space. I'm in another star system. I don't know how much astrophage it took to get here, but it was probably a lot. Sending a ship to another star probably took an absurd amount of fuel. Sending that ship to another star and bringing it back would take 10 times as much fuel. I checked the astrophage panel to refresh my memory. Remaining, 20,862 kilograms. Consumption rate, 6.43 G/S. I don't know what that means. Listen, I'm not great at science, guys. The consumption rate was 6.045 grams per second before. Oh, grams per second, that's what it is. Thank you. Yeah, I know now. Thank you, garlic. So it's gone down a little bit, and the fuel amount went down too. Basically, as the fuel gets consumed, the total mass of the ship goes down, so it needs less fuel per second to maintain the constant acceleration. Okay, that all makes sense. I have no idea what the Hail Mary's mass is, but to be able to shove it along at 1.5 Gs of acceleration on a few grams of fuel per second, astrophage is amazing stuff. Anyway, I don't know exactly how the consumption rate will change over time. I mean, I could work it out, but it's complicated. So for now, I'll just approximate it to 6 grams per second. How long will that fuel last? It's nice to have a jumpsuit on. It's got pockets for all sorts of knickknacks. I still haven't found a calculator, so I do the math with a pen and paper. Grand total, I'll run out of fuel in about 40 days. I don't know what star that it is, but it's not the sun. And there's just no way to get from any other star to Earth with just 40 days of accelerating at 1.5 Gs. It probably took years to get here from Earth, which might be why I was in a coma. Interesting. Anyway, all this can only mean one thing. The Hail Mary isn't going home. This is a one-way ticket. And I'm pretty sure these beetles are how I'm supposed to send information back to Earth. There's no way I have a radio transmitter powerful enough to broadcast several light years. I don't know if that would even be possible to build. So instead, I have these little beetle ships with 5 tetrabytes of information each. They'll fly, they'll fly black, they'll fly black to, they'll fly back to Earth and broadcast their data. There's 4 of them for redundancy. I'm probably supposed to put copies of my findings in each oh my god, I can't fucking talk. Findings in each one and send them all home. If at least one survives the journey, Earth is saved. I'm on a suicide mission. John, Paul, George, and Ringo get to go home, but my long and winding road ends here. I must have known all this when I volunteered. But to my amnesia-riddled brain, this is new information. I'm going to die out here, and I'm going to die alone. Oh, imagine that though. That was also the end of chapter 4. Imagine that situation, like you don't remember anything, and then you suddenly come to a realization, like, holy shit, I'm out here by myself, and I'm going to die out here by myself because I can't go back. That's crazy. I'm taking a sip of my Fanta. It's very good right now. All right. Chapter 5. How long is chapter 5? Also very fucking long. I feel like we're only gonna get through like 1 chapter per stream. Oh my god, it's so long. Holy shit. Oh my god. Oh my god. I don't think we're gonna finish chapter 6 or chapter 5. Oh no, just kidding. I combined chapters. Where is it? Okay, it's still chapter 5 is still fucking long. I don't know if we're gonna be able to finish chapter 5 this stream. We'll see. Anyway, chapter 5. I glared at the astrophage. Why the heck do you go to Venus? Oh, he's back in the past now. It starts in the past, this one. The microscope view was displayed on the big wall-mounted monitor. Each of the 3 little cells were a foot across at this magnification. I watched for any clues to their motivations, but Larry, Curly, and Mo offered no answer. I named them, of course. It's a teacher thing. What's so special about Venus? And how do you even find it? I crossed my arms. If astrophage understood body language, they'd know I was messing around. It takes a room full of really smart people at NASA to work out how to get to Venus. And you do it as a single-celled organism with no brain. It had been 2 days since Strat left me alone with the lab. The army guys were still at the doors. One was named Steve. Friendly guy. The other never spoke to me. I ran my hands through my greasy hair. I'd neglected to shower that morning. At least I didn't have to wear the hazmat suit anymore. Scientists in Nairobi had taken a chance with one of their astrophage and exposed it to Earth atmosphere to see what happened. It was unaffected. So, thanks to them, labs all over the world could breathe a sigh of relief and stop working in argon-filled rooms. I glanced at the pile of papers on the desk. The scientific community had moved into overdrive in a very unscientific way. Gone were the days of careful peer review and published articles. Astrophage research was a free-for-all, where researchers posted their findings immediately and without proof. It led to misunderstandings and mistakes, but we just didn't have time to do things the right way. Strat kept me in the loop on most stuff. Not everything, I was sure. Who knows what other weird things she was up to. She seemed to have authority everywhere. Sorry if you hear, like, screeching laughter in the background, those are my siblings causing mayhem in the room next to mine. So, a Belgian research team was able to prove that astrophage reacts to magnetic fields, but only sometimes. Other times, it seems to. Are they being tortured? No, they're just playing. It seems to ignore magnetic fields entirely, no matter how powerful. Still, the Belgians were able to, very consistently, steer astrophage around by putting it in a magnetic field and changing the field's orientation. Was that useful? No idea. At this point, the world was just collecting data. Let me tell you a quick story, real quick. It's about one of my siblings, the youngest sibling. Um, he's 6. He's in kinder. Oh, he's about to be in first grade now. But the other day, no, it was today. He went to open our trash can and he turned to my grandma. He's like, "Grandma, this trash can is full. It needs to get replaced." And my grandma, or someone needs to replace it, is what he said. Someone needs to replace it. And my grandma looked at him and was like, "You replace it." And I turned to him and I was like, "Looks like you're someone today." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh my God." I was like, "You said someone needs to replace it." So I said, "Looks like you're someone today because you're the someone who's going to replace it." And he stopped and he looked at me and he was like, "Well, guess who's taking the trash out today?" And I was like, "You, because you're right next to it." And he was like, "No, you." And then he took the trash like out of the trash can and then brought it over to me, put it down by my feet, and left it there. And I was like, dude, he has a lot of sass for his age. A lot of sass. Anyway, continuing on. A researcher in Paraguay. Is that how you say it? Paraguay? Paraguay. Paraguay. I'm going to assume that's what it is. Showed that ants will get disoriented when they're within a few centimeters of astrophage. Was that useful? Okay, that one probably wasn't useful, but it was interesting. Most notably, a group in Perth sacrificed one of their astrophage and did a detailed analysis on all the organelles inside. They found DNA in mitochondria. In any other situation, this would have been the most important discovery of the century. Alien life, indisputably alien, had DNA and mitochondria. Either or, okay. And, grumble, a bunch of water. Point is, the inside of an astrophage wasn't much different from the inside of any single-celled organism you'd find on Earth. It used ATP, RNA transcription, and a whole host of other extremely familiar things. Some researchers speculated that it originated on Earth. Others postulated a specific set of molecules was the only way for life to occur, and astrophage evolved it independently. And a smaller, vocal faction suggested life might not have evolved on Earth at all, and that astrophage and terrestrial life have a common ancestor. "You know," I told the astrophage, "if you boys weren't threatening all life on my planet, you'd be pretty awesome. You have mysteries within mysteries." I leaned against the table. "You have mitochondria. Okay, so that means you use ATP as your energy storage, just like we do. But the light you use to move around requires way more energy than your ATP can hold. So you have another energy storage pathway, one we don't understand." One of the astrophage on screen darted slightly to the left. It was pretty common. Once in a while, for no reason, they just wiggle. Oh my god, that was cute. They just wiggle, you know? I don't know why I said it like that. Ignore me. What makes you move? Why move? And how does this random jerky motion get you from the sun to Venus? And why do you go to Venus at all? Lots of people were working on the internals of astrophage, trying to figure out what made it tick, analyzing its DNA. Good for them. I wanted to know the basic life cycle. That was my goal. Single-celled organisms don't just store buttloads of energy and fly through space for no reason. There had to be something. Astrophage needed from Venus, or what? Astrophage? There had to be, oh, that was, I don't know why I read that like that. There had to be something astrophage needed from Venus, or it would just stay on the sun. And it needed something from the sun too, or it would stay on Venus. The sun part was pretty easy. It was there for the energy. Same reason plants grew leaves. Go to get that sweet, sweet energy if you're going to be a life form. Oh, gotta get that sweet, sweet energy if you're going to be a life form. Makes perfect sense. So, what about Venus? I picked up a pen and fidgeted with it as I thought. According to the Indian Space Research Organization, you guys get going up to 0.92 times the speed of light. I pointed at them. Didn't know we could do that, did ya? Figure out your velocity. They use Doppler shift analysis of the light you emit to work it out. And because of that, they also know you're going both directions to and from Venus. I frowned. But if you hit an atmosphere at the speed you should die. Oh, ugh. But if you hit an atmosphere at that speed, you should die. So why don't you? I rapped my forehead with a knuckle. Because you can handle any amount of heat. Right. So you blast into the atmosphere, but you don't get any hotter. Okay, but you'd have to at least slow down. So you just be in the upper atmosphere of Venus. Then you, what, turn around and go back to the sun? Why? I stared at the screen for a solid 10 minutes, lost in thought. All right, enough this. I want to know how you find Venus. I went to the local hardware store and bought a bunch of 2x4s, 3/4 inch plywood power, 3/4 inch plywood, power tools, and other stuff I'd need. Steve, the army guy, helped me carry a lot of it in. Dirk, army guy, did nothing. Over the next 6 hours, I built a light-proof closet with a shelf in it. It was just big enough for me to get in and out. I set the microscope on the shelf. The door was a plywood panel that I could remove with screws. I ran the power and video lines into the closet through a little hole that I plugged up with putty to make sure no light could get in through there either. I set my IR camera up on the microscope and sealed up the closet. Out in the lab, the monitor showed the infrared light on the infra I'm gonna cry. The infrared light the camera saw. It was basically a frequency shift. Very low bands of IR would show up as red. Higher energy bands would be orange, yellow, and so on up the rainbow. I could see the astrophage cells as little red blobs, which was expected. At their constant temperature of 96.415 degrees Celsius, they would naturally emit an IR wavelength of 7.8 microns or so. The low end of what I'd set the camera to look for. It was good confirmation that the setup was working. But I didn't care about that dark red color. I wanted to see a bright yellow flash. That would be the Petrova frequency that astrophage spit out to move around. If any of my astrophages moved even the tiniest amount, I'd see a very obvious yellow flash. But it never came. Nothing happened. Nothing at all. Usually, I'd see a jerky motion from at least one of them every few seconds. But now there was nothing. So, I said, you little brats have settled down, huh? Light. Whatever their navigation system was, it was based on light. I suspected that would be the case. What else could you use in space? There's no sound, no smell. It would have to be light, gravity, or electromagnetism. And light's the easiest of those three to detect, at least as far as evolution is concerned. For my next experiment, I taped a little white LED and a watch battery together. Of course, I wired it backward at first, and the LED didn't light up. That's pretty much a rule in electronics. You never get diodes right on the first try. Anyway, I rewired it correctly, and the LED lit up. I taped the whole contraption to the inside wall of the closet. I made sure to position it so the astrophage on the sample slide would have a direct line of sight up to it. Oh, sight on it. Then I sealed everything up again. Now, from the astrophage's point of view, there was a lot of black nothingness and one shining spot of light. That's kind of what Venus might look like if you were out in space and looking directly away from the sun. Pocket, I took out my headphones and now I can't hear you. You must be muted. Trust. Yeah, okay, whatever. I don't believe that. You're lying to me because I can literally see it. I can see my voice moving. Yeah, you literally just responded to me. Anyway. They didn't budge. No hint of motion at all. I said. To be fair, see, I can't hear what you just said. To be fair, it wasn't likely to work. If you were at the sun, looking away from it for the brightest splotch of light you could see, you'd probably zero in on Mercury, not Venus. Mercury is smaller than Venus, but it's a lot closer, so you'd see more light. Why Venus? I mused. But then I thought of a better question. How do you guys identify Venus? Why did they move randomly? My theory, by pure chance, every few seconds or so, an astrophage thought it had spotted Venus, so it thrusted in that direction. But then the moment passed, so it stopped thrusting. The key had to be frequencies of light. My boys didn't wiggle at all in the darkness. But it wasn't just about the sheer volume of light, or they would have gone for the LED. It had to be something about the frequency of the light. Planets don't just reflect light, they also emit it. Everything emits light. The temperature of the object defines the wavelength of light emitted. Planets are no exception. So maybe astrophage looked for Venus's IR signature. It wouldn't be as bright as Mercury's, but it would be distinct, a different color. A little Googling told me Venus's average temperature was 462 degrees Celsius. I had a whole drawer full of replacement bulbs for microscopes and other lab stuff. I grabbed one and hooked it up to a variable power supply. Incandescent bulbs worked by getting the filament so hot it emits visible light. That happens around 2,500 degrees Celsius. I didn't need anything so dramatic. I just needed a measly 462 degrees. I adjusted power going through the bulb up and down, watching with an IR camera, until I got exactly the light frequency I wanted. I moved the whole contraption into my test closet, watched the monitor with my boys on it, and turned on the artificial Venus. Nothing. Absolutely no movement from the little jerks. "What do you want from me?" I demanded. I pulled my goggles off and threw them to the ground. I drummed my fingers on the table. If I were an astronomer, if I were an if I were a person who studied stars, and someone showed me a blob of light, how would I know if it's Venus? I answered myself. I'd look for that IR signature. I'm not going back to work. Fuck that. I'm not doing that. But that's not what astrophage does. Okay, someone shows me a blob of light and says I'm not allowed to use emitted IR to work out the temperature of the body. How else could I find out if it's Venus? Yeah, I am constantly, every day of my life, Skelly. Spectroscopy. Look for carbon dioxide. I raised an eyebrow as the idea came to me. When light hits gas molecules, the electrons get all worked up. Then they calm down and re-emit the energy as light. But the frequency of the photons they emit is very specific to the molecules involved. As blank used this for decades to know what gases are out there far, far away. That's what spectroscopy is all about. Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, Skelly, that's the word. Uh-huh. Venus's atmosphere is 90 times Earth's pressure and almost entirely carbon dioxide. Its Jesus Christ. Its spectroscopy signature of CO2 would be overwhelmingly strong. Mercury had no carbon dioxide at all, so the nearest competitor would be Earth. But we had a minuscule CO2 signature compared to Venus. Maybe astrophage used emission spectra to find Venus. New plan. The lab had a seemingly infinite supply of light filters. Pick a frequency, and there's a filter for it. I looked up the spectral signature of carbon dioxide. The peak wavelengths were 4.26 microns and 18.31 microns. I found the appropriate filters and built a little box for them. Inside, I put a small white light bulb. Now, I had a box that would emit the spectral signature of carbon dioxide. I put it in the test closet and went out to watch the monitor. Larry, Curly, and Mo hung out on their slide, just like they had all day long. I flicked on the light box and watched for any reaction. The astrophage left. They didn't just meander toward the light. They were gone. Absolutely gone. I had been recording the camera input, of course. I ran it back to watch frame by frame. Between two frames, they simply disappeared. Good news. Astrophage were attracted to carbon dioxide spectral signature. Bad news. My 3, irreplaceable, 10-micron wide astrophage had launched off somewhere, maybe at velocities approaching the speed of light, and I had no idea where they went. Crap. Oh, now we're back into the present. Midnight. Darkness everywhere. Oh, just kidding. It's still past. The army guys changed shift to 2 guys. I didn't know. I miss Steve. I had aluminum foil and duct tape up over every window of the lab. I sealed the cracks around the entrances and exits with electrical tape. I turned off every piece of equipment that had a readout or LED of any kind. I put my watch in a drawer because it had glow in the dark paint on the hands. I let my eyes adjust to the total darkness. If I saw so much as a single shape that wasn't my imagination, I sought out the light leak and put tape over it. Finally, I reached a level of darkness so intense I couldn't see anything. Opening or closing my eyes had no effect at all. The next step was my newly invented IR goggles. The lab had many things, but infrared goggles were not among them. I'd considered asking Steve, the army guy, if he could score some. I probably could have called Strat and she would have had the president of Peru personally deliver them or something, but this was faster. The goggles were just the LCD output screen of my IR camera with a bunch of tape around them. I pressed them to my face and added more tape. Then more and more and more. I'm sure I looked ridiculous, but whatever. I fired up the camera and looked around the lab. Plenty of heat signatures. The walls were still warm from sunlight earlier that day. Everything electrical had a glow, and my body shined like a beacon. I adjusted the frequency range to look for much hotter things, specifically things over 90 degrees Celsius. I crawled into my makeshift microscope closet and looked at the light box I'd used for the CO2 spectral emission. Astrophage are only 10 microns across. No chance I'd see something so small with the camera, or with my eyes for that matter. But my little aliens are very hot, and they stay hot. So if they're not moving, they will have spent the last 6 hours or so slowly heating up their surroundings. That was the hope. It panned out. I immediately saw a circle of light on one of the plastic light filters. Oh, thank God, I gasped. It was very faint, but it was there. The spot was about 3 millimeters across and grew fainter and colder away from the center. The little fella had been heating up the plastic for hours. I scanned back and forth across the two plastic squares. I quickly found a second spot. My experiment worked way better than I expected. They saw what they thought was Venus and beelined for it. When they hit the light filters, they couldn't go any further. They probably kept pushing until I turned off the light. Anyway, if I could just confirm that all three astrophage were present, I could bag the filters, then spend however long I needed to find and harvest the boys from them with a microscope and pipette. And there it was, the third astrophage. The gang's all here. I don't know why I said it like that. That sounded really stupid. I said. I reached into my pocket for a sample bag and got ready to very carefully pull the filter off the light box. That's when I saw the fourth astrophage. Just minding its own business. A fourth cell. It was right in the same general cluster as the first three, on the filters. Holy. I'd been staring at these guys for a week. There's no way I would have missed one. There could only be one explanation. One of the astrophage divided. I'd accidentally made... I choked. Hold on. Sorry, I'm really phlegmy. Anyway, I'd accidentally made the astrophage reproduce. I stared at the fourth spot of light for a full minute, taking in the magnitude of what had just happened. Breeding astrophage meant we would have an unlimited supply for study. Kill them, poke them, take them apart, do whatever we wanted. This was a game changer. Hello, Shimp. Shimp? He named it Shimp? I said. Okay, there's a bit of a time skip. I spent the next 2 days obsessively studying the new behavior. I didn't even go home. I just slept in the lab. Steve, the army guy, brought me breakfast. Great guy. I should have shared all my findings with the rest of the science community, but I wanted to be sure. Peer review may have fallen by the wayside, but at least I could self-review. Better than nothing. The first thing that bothered me. CO2 spectral emissions are 4.26 and 18.31 microns, but astrophage are only 10 microns across, so it couldn't really interact with light that had a larger wavelength. How could it even see the 18.31 micron bands? I repeated my earlier spectral experiment with just the 18.31 micron filter and got a result I didn't expect. Strange things happened. First off, Two of the astrophage whipped over to the filter. They saw the light and went right for it. But how? It should be impossible for astrophage to interact with a wavelength that big. I mean, literally impossible. Light is a funny thing. Its wavelength defines what it can and can't interact with. Anything smaller than the wavelength is functionally non-existent to that photon. That's why there's a mesh over the window of a microwave. The holes in the mesh are too small for micron waves to pass through. But visible light, with a much shorter wavelength, can go through easily, so you get to watch your food cook without melting your face off. Astrophage is smaller than 18.31 microns, but somehow still absorbs light at that frequency. How? But that's not even the strangest thing that happened. Yes, two of them took off for the filter, but the other two stayed put. They didn't seem to care. They just hung out on the slide. Maybe they didn't interact with the larger wavelength. So I did one more experiment. I shined the 4.26 micron light at them again, and I got the same results. The same two went right for the filter as before, and the other two just didn't care. And there it was. I couldn't be 100% certain again, but I was pretty sure I just discovered the whole astrophage life cycle. It clicked in my mind like puzzle pieces finally fitting together. The two holdouts didn't want to go to Venus anymore. They wanted to go back to the sun. Why? Because one of them just divided and created the other. Astrophage hang out on the surface of the sun, gathering energy via heat. They store it internally in some way no one understands. Then, when they have enough, they migrate to Venus to breed, using that stored energy to fly through space using infrared light as propellant. Lots of species migrate to breed. Why would astrophage be any different? The Aussies already worked out that the inside of the astrophage wasn't much different from Earth life. It needed carbon and oxygen to make the complex proteins required for DNA. For DNA, mitochondria, and all the other fun stuff found in cells. There's plenty of hydrogen on the sun, but the other elements just aren't present. So astrophage migrates to the nearest supply of carbon dioxide, Venus. First, it follows magnetic field lines and goes straight away from the sun's north pole. It has to do that, or the light from the sun would be too blinding to find Venus. And going straight up from the pole means that astrophage will have a full view of Venus's entire orbital path, no portion of it occluded by the sun. And that's why astrophage is so inconsistent on reacting to magnetic fields. It only cares about them at the very beginning of its journey, and at no other time. Then it looks for Venus's massive carbon dioxide spectral signature. Well, not really looks for. It's probably more a simple stimulus response thing initiated by the 4.26 and 18.31 micron light bands. Jesus. Anyway, once it sees Venus, it goes straight to it. The path it takes, straight away from the solar pole, then sharply turning toward Venus, that's the Petrova line. A heroic astrophage reaches the upper atmosphere of Venus, collects the CO2 it needs, and it can finally reproduce. Jesus, so much I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of science jargon happening, and it's kind of like going into my eyes and just straight out my mouth. It's not even processing in my mind, I'm not gonna lie. And needs and can finally reproduce. After that, both parent and child return to the sun and the cycle begins anew. It's simple, really. So simple. Get energy, get resources, and make copies. It's the same thing all life on Earth does. And that was why two of my little stooges didn't walk toward the light. So how does astrophage find the sun? My guess, look for the extremely bright thing and head that way. I separated Mo and Shimp, the sun seekers, from Larry and Curly, the Venus seekers. I put Larry and Curly on a different slide and put it in a light-sealed sample container. Then I set up an experiment in the dark closet for Mo and Shimp. This time, I put a bright incandescent bulb in there and turned it on. I didn't expect them to head right toward it. I expected them to head right toward it, but no dice. They didn't budge. Probably not bright enough. I went to a photography store downtown. San Francisco has a lot of photography enthusiasts, and bought the largest, brightest, most powerful flash I could find. I replaced the light bulb with the flash and did the experiment again. Moe and Shemp took the bait. I had to sit down and take a breath. I should have taken a nap. I hadn't slept in 36 hours, but this was too exciting. I pulled out my cell phone and dialed Strat's number. She answered halfway through the first ring. Dr. Grace, she said. Find anything? Yeah, I said. I figured out how I figured out how astrophage reproduces and managed to make it happen. Silence for a second. You successfully bred astrophage? Yes. Non-destructively? She asked. I had 3 cells. I now have 4. They're all alive and well. Silence for another second. Stay there. She hung up. Huh, I said. I put the phone back in my lab coat. Guess she's on her way. Steve, the army guy, burst into the lab. Dr. Grace? What, yeah? Please come with me. Okay, I said. Let me just get my astrophage samples put away. There are lab techs on the way to deal with all that. You have to come with me now. Okay. The next 12 hours were unique. Steve, the army guy, drove me to a high school football field where a U.S. Marine Corps helicopter had already landed. Without words, they hustled me into the chopper, and up we went into the sky. I tried not to look down. The chopper took me to Travis Air Force Base, about 60 miles north of the city. Did the Marines often land at Air Force bases? I don't know much about the military, but that seemed odd. It also seemed a bit extreme to send in the Marines just to keep me from driving through a couple hours of traffic, but okay. There was a Jeep waiting for me on the tarmac, where the helicopter landed. With an Air Force guy, with an Air Force guy standing next to it. He introduced himself. I swear he did, but I don't remember his name. He drove me across the tarmac to a waiting jet. No, not a passenger jet, and not a Learjet or anything like that. This was a fighter jet. I don't know what kind. Like I said, I don't know military stuff. My guide hustled me up a ladder and into the seat behind the pilot. He gave me a pill and a little paper cup of water. Take this. What is it? It'll keep you from puking all over our nice clean cockpit. Okay. I swallowed the pill. And it'll help you sleep. What? Away he went, and the ground crew pulled away the ladder. The pilot didn't say a word to me. 10 minutes later, we took off like a bat out of hell. I never felt acceleration like that in my life. The pill did its job. I definitely would have puked. Where are we going? I asked through the headset. I'm sorry, sir, I'm not allowed to speak to you. This is going to be a boring trip then. They usually are, he said. I don't know exactly when I fell asleep, but it was within. How can you fall asleep in a fighter jet, bro? Did they straight up just give you? Did they roofie you? Is that what it was? Is that what they gave you? Did you get roofied? Because I don't think I'd be able to fall asleep in a fighter jet. Yeah, okay. I don't know exactly when I fell asleep, but it was within minutes of taking off. 36 hours of mad science plus whatever was in that pill put me right into dreamland, regardless of the ridiculous jet engine noise surrounding me. Yeah, they were definitely some good drugs. Definitely. Let me have some of those. I need those for some good sleep, honestly. I woke in the darkness to a jolt. We'd landed. Welcome to Hawaii, sir, said the pilot. Hawaii? Why am I in Hawaii? I wasn't given that information. The jet taxied into some side runway or whatever, and a ground crew brought a ladder. I hadn't gotten halfway down the ladder yet when I heard, Dr. Grace, this way, please. There's a man in a U.S. Navy uniform. Where the hell am I? I demanded. Naval Station Pearl Harbor, said the officer, but not for long. Please follow me. Sure, why not? They put me in another jet with another non-talkative pilot. The only difference was that this time it was a Navy jet instead of an Air Force jet. We flew for a long time. I lost track of the hours. Keeping track was meaningless anyway. I didn't know how long we'd been in the air. Finally, I kid you not, we landed on an honest-to-God aircraft carrier. Next thing I knew, I was on the flight deck looking like an idiot. They gave me earmuffs and a coat and shuffled me over to a helipad. A Navy chopper was waiting for me. Will this trip end? Like, ever? I asked. They ignored me and got me strapped in. The chopper took off immediately. This time, the flight wasn't nearly so long, just an hour or so. This should be interesting, said the pilot. It was the only thing he'd said the whole flight. We descended and the landing gear deployed. Below us was another aircraft carrier. I squinted at it. Something looked different. What was it? Oh, right. It had a big Chinese flag flying over it. Is that a Chinese aircraft carrier? I asked. Yes, sir. Are we A U.S. Navy helicopter. Helicopter? Sorry, no. Let me just go past that. Ignore I said that. Going to land on that Chinese aircraft carrier? Yes, sir. I see. Where was I? Oh, we landed on the carrier's helipad. Yes. We landed on the carrier's helipad, and a bunch of Chinese Navy guys watched us with interest. I'm so congested right now. There would be no post-flight servicing of this chopper. My pilot leered through the windows at them, and they leered right back. As soon as I stepped out, he took off again. I was in China's hands now. A Navy man came forward and gestured for me to follow him. I don't think anyone spoke English, but I got the general idea. He led me to a door in the tower structure, and we went inside. We wound through passageways, stairwells, and rooms I didn't even understand the purpose of. All the while, Chinese sailors watched me with curiosity. Finally, he stopped at a door with Chinese characters on it. He opened the door and pointed inside. I walked in, and he slammed the door behind me. So much for my guide. I think it was an officer's conference room. At least that was my assumption, based on the big table with 15 people sitting at it. They all turned their heads to look up at me. Some were white, some were black, some were Asian, some were lab coats, others wore suits. Strat, of course, sat at the head of the table. Dr. Grace, how was your trip? How was my trip? I said. I got dragged across the gosh darn world without any notice. She held up her hand. It was just a pleasantry, Dr. Grace. I don't actually care how your trip was. Damn, bitch! Okay, how about I just not give you the research I got? The fuck? Sorry. Let me just calm down. She stood and addressed the room. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Ryland Grace from the United States. He figured out how to breed astrophage. Gasps came from around the table. One man shot to his feet and spoke with a thick German accent. I'm not doing a thick German accent, first of all. Let me just say that right now. Are you serious? Oh my god, he actually does speak German. Well, I knew he was gonna speak German, but I didn't think the book was gonna make me speak it. I'm not fucking doing it. I don't know. Oh god, are you serious? Strat. Oh Jesus. Nah, we're just skipping it. She's fucking speaking German too. Will this make you speak in the accent? No, it will not, but I appreciate the bits. I can't do any accent. I don't have an accent. Ner English? Strat interrupted. Why are we only hearing of this now? The German demanded. I wanted to confirm it first. While Dr. Grace was en route, I had technicians pack up his lab. They collected 4 live astrophage from his lab. I only left 3. Can I do a Windwalker accent? Isn't that just like... How do you do a Windwalker accent? An elderly man in a lab coat spoke Japanese in a calm, soothing voice. Next to him, a younger Japanese man in a charcoal... Sorry, I like burped. A younger Japanese man in a charcoal suit translated. Dr. Matsuka would like to respectfully request a detailed description of the process. Strat stepped aside and gestured to her chair. Doctor, have a seat and lay it out for us. Hold on, I said. Who are these people? Why am I on a Chinese aircraft carrier? And have you ever heard of Skype? This is an international body of high-level scientists and political operatives that I have assembled to spearhead Project Hail Mary. What's that? That would take a while to explain. Everyone here is eager to hear about your astrophage findings. Let's start with that. I shuffled to the front of the room and sat awkwardly at the head of the table. All eyes turned to me. So I told them. I told them all about the wooden closet experiments. I explained all my tests, what I did for each one, and how I did them. Then I explained my conclusions. I told them my hypothesis about the astrophage life cycle, how it works and why. There were a few questions from the assembled scientists and politicos, but mostly they just listened and took notes. Several had translators whispering in their ear during the process. Well, as always, I picked this stream for sleep on my Thursday night. Yeah, that's fair. So, yeah, I said, that's pretty much everything. I mean, it's not rigorously tested yet, but it seems pretty simple. German guy raised his hand. Would it be possible to breed astrophage on a larger scale? Everyone leaned forward a little. Apparently, this was a pretty important question, and it was on everyone's mind. I was taken aback by the sudden intensity of the room. I know it is Thursday. It's crazy, right? Craziness. Oh, wait. Guys, we might actually finish chapter 6. We might actually finish a whole chapter this stream. Let me take a sip of my drink. Okay. Well, it's Friday now, lol, for me. Yeah, it's almost Friday for me. I get paid in like 30 minutes. Even Strat seemed unusually interested. Well, she said, please answer, Minister Voigt. Sure, I said. I mean, why not? How would you do it? Asked Strat. I guess I'd make a big elbow-shaped ceramic pipe and fill it with carbon dioxide, make one end of it as hot as you can get it, and have a bright light there. Wrap a magnetic coil around it to simulate the magnetic field of the sun. Put an IR light emitter at the other end of the elbow and have it emit light at 4.26 and 18.31 microns. Make the inside of the pipe as black as you can, and that should do it. How does that do it? She said. I shrugged. The astrophage will gather energy at the sun side, and when they're ready to breathe, they'll follow the magnetic field to the pipe's to the pipe's elbow. They'll see the IR lights at the other end and head toward it. Seeing that light and being exposed to carbon dioxide makes them breed, then the parent and daughter cells will go back to the sun side. Simple enough. I get paid every 30 minutes. Really? You get paid every 30 minutes? Crazy. Where was I? A political looking man raised his hand and spoke with some kind of African accent. How much astrophage could be made this way? How fast is the process? It would have a doubling time, I said, like algae or bacteria. I don't know how long it is, but considering the sun is getting dim, it must be pretty quick. A woman in a lab coat had been on her phone. She set it down, then spoke with a thick Chinese accent. Our scientists have reproduced the results. Minister Voigt scowled at her. How did you even know his process? He just told us. Spies, presumably, said Strat. The German huffed. How dare you circumvent us with... Shush, said Strat. We're past all that. Miss Z, uh, Miss Z, do you have any additional information to share? Yes, she said. We estimate the doubling time to be just over 8 days, under optimal conditions. What does that mean? The African diplomat said. How much can we make? Well, I launched my phone's calculator app and tapped a few buttons. If you started with 150 astrophage, if you started with the 150 astrophage we have and bred them for a year, at the end of it, you'd have about 173,000 kilograms of astrophage. And would this astrophage be at maximum energy density? Would it all be ready to reproduce? So you want, I guess you'd call it enriched astrophage. Yes, he said. That's a perfect word for it. We want astrophage that is holding as much energy as it can. I guess that could be arranged, I said. First, breed up the number of astrophage you want, then expose them to lots of heat energy, but don't let them see any carbon dioxide. Spectral lines. They'll collect energy and just sort of sit there, waiting until they can see somewhere to get CO2. What if we needed 2 million kilograms of enriched astrophage? Said the diplomat. It's doubling every 8 days, I said. 2 million kilos would be another 4 doublings or so 1 month longer. Owen leaned forward on the table. Her fingers steepled. We might just have a chance, she said in an American accent. An outside chance, said Voigt. There is hope, said the Japanese translator, presumably speaking for Dr. Matsuka. We need to talk amongst ourselves, said Strad. Go get some rest. The sailor outside will show you to a bunk. But I want to know about Project Hail Mary. Oh, you will. Believe me. Time skipped. A little bit of a time skip, still not in the present yet. I slept for 14 hours. Aircraft carriers are awesome in many ways, but they aren't 5-star hotels. The Chinese had given me a clean, comfy cot and an officer's bunk room. I had no complaints. I could have slept on the flight deck, I was so tired. I felt something weird on my forehead when I woke up. I reached up. It was a post-it note. Someone put a post-it note on my head while I slept. I pulled it off and read it. Clean clothes and toiletries and duffel under your bunk. Show this note to any sailor when you've cleaned up. Strat. There's a bunch of like Chinese characters. I was not reading it. I can't even read it. She is such a pain in my butt, I mumbled. I stumbled out of my cot. A few officers gave me passing glances, but otherwise ignored me. I found the duffel, and, as promised, there were clothes and dental hygiene stuff and soap. Oh, clean it. Wait. There were clothes and dental hygiene stuff and soap. I glanced around the bunk room and saw through a doorway into a locker room. I used the bathroom, or head, I guess, because I was on a ship. Then I took a shower with 3 other guys. What? Well, I used the bathroom, or head, I guess, because I was on a ship. Then I took a shower with 3 other guys. Oh, I was like, what do you mean you took a shower with 3 other guys? It's communal shower. Oh god. Okay. I had to like really stop and think about that for a minute. Wait. I dried off and put on the jumpsuit onesie Strat had left me. It was bright yellow, had Chinese writing along the back, and a big red stripe down the left leg of the pants. No, I was confused for a minute because it went from like he went to take a shower or he was going to take a shower, but then he took a shower with 3 dudes, and I was like, I was just dozing off, and that woke me right up. Sorry, so sorry. I'm so sorry. But that really, I was so confused. The thing like a communal shower with strangers. I don't know if I could ever do that. Like I don't. Like, not because, like, I'd be, like, insecure, but, like, I don't think I could not stare. Like, I, like, could not stare, you know? Like, I feel like I couldn't, like, help but let my eyes wander. Not because, like, I'm, like, being a perv or anything, but, like, because, like, there's, like, 2 other naked people next to me. Like, what am I can't just stare at the wall. Like, I feel like that'd just be so weird. I feel like I'd be, like, one of those people who'd, like, try to start a conversation. Be like, "Ah, so how's the weather?" I could just never do it. I'm not afraid to be naked in front of people. Listen, I had to get a whole chest tattoo. Like when I got my chest tattoo done, right? I literally just like tits out, like in front of this person doing my tattoo, and then I was also in front of a window, so it was like I don't care about that. It's just like but I can't like I would be so awkward. Like I just couldn't not look at the other people, you know? I do have a chest tattoo. Yes, I do. It's more like a like it's a higher up chest tattoo, so it's kind of like more it goes along my collarbone pretty much. Yeah. I do have a chest tattoo. Oh my gosh, yeah. You guys didn't know about my chest tattoo? I've got a few tattoos. No, my I love my chest tattoo. It's blue baby's breath, which represents resiliency. And it's goes across my collarbones. It's very pretty. I would show you a picture, but also I'm not going to show you a picture of my chest. So I do have multiple tattoos. Yes. I have one on my arm, one on each ear, I should say, and then one on my chest. And then I'm trying to get my back tattoo done too. My full back tattoo. I love tattoos. I'm not gonna lie. I love tattoos. I didn't know Time Lords could get tattoos. Yeah. Hold, if you look at my bottle, it actually does have tattoo. Well, semi tattoos. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, no, my models do have tattoos. Yeah. I have to redo my ear tattoos though. They randomly appear and disappear. I have to redo my ear tattoos because they faded quite a bit. Because like the skin on your ear and like around your fingers, they say tattoos fade a lot easier. And I had like rainbow stripes done on my ears, but I'm gonna do lavender like crawling up my ear. It's gonna be cool. I also designed all of my own tattoos. So where was I? I lost where I was. Where was I? Oh, I found it. Yes, the 3 guys in the shower. I dried off and put on the jumpsuit onesie Strat had left me. It was bright yellow, had Chinese writing along the back, and a big red stripe down the left leg of my pants. It's different. It's a different kind of needle. It's a different kind of like experience from like medical needles. My guess was to make sure everyone knew I was a foreign civilian and not allowed in certain places. I flagged down a passing sailor, and showed him the note. He nodded and gestured for me to follow. He led me through a maze of twisty little passages, all alike, until we arrived back at the room I'd been in the previous day. I always wondered what tattoos I would get if I wanted one. I think just a small dot, a simple small dot. You know what? That's fair. My my first tattoo that I got was my arm one, my armband tattoos. And let me tell you, I thought I showed them the design and they're like, "Is this the first tattoo you want to get?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they were like, "Are you sure you don't want something smaller?" And I was like, "No, I want my armband tattoos." And the dude was like, "I usually people will try and go smaller for their first tattoo because it can hurt." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm aware it's probably gonna hurt. I think I'll be fine." It didn't even hurt a fucking damn bit. I think the tattoo I got that hurt the most was the one on my collarbone. But I think that's because my bone was so close to like my skin. And I swear to God, she tattooed my bone underneath my skin too. Because I was like, fuck, that shit hurt. It felt like she was digging into my bone with a needle. I was like, oh my God. But otherwise, my other tattoos, they felt like maybe like a cat scratch and that's it. Like they weren't horrible. And then like afterwards, the healing process just felt like sunburns, which it wasn't even, they weren't bad. No, but literally my chest tattoo was the one that hurt the most but that was just because it was like on my collarbone, like legitimately. Anyway, where was I? Oh shit. Found it. I stepped in to see Strat and some of her teammates, a subset of the previous day's gang. Just Minister Voigt, the Chinese scientist, I think her name was Z, and a guy in a Russian military uniform. The Russian had been here the previous day, but hadn't said anything. They all looked deep in concentration, and the tables littered with paper. They mumbled to one another here and there. I didn't know the exact relationships going on, but Strat was definitely at the head of the table. She looked up as I entered. "Ah, Dr. Grace, you look refreshed." She gestured to her left. "There's food on the credenza." And there was rice, steamed buns, deep-fried dough sticks, and an urn of coffee. I rushed over and helped myself. I was hungry as heck. I sat at the conference table with a full plate and a cup of coffee. "So," I said with a mouthful of rice, "you gonna tell me why we're on a Chinese aircraft carrier?" "I needed an aircraft carrier. The Chinese gave me one. Well, they lent it to me." I slurped my coffee. There was a time when something like that would surprise me, but, not anymore. "Commercial air travel takes too long and is prone to delays," she said. "Military aircraft works on whatever schedule they want and travels supersonically. I need to be able to get to experts from anywhere on Earth in the same room with no delays. Miss Strat can be extremely persuasive," the Minister Voigt, or said Minister Voigt. I shoveled more food into my mouth. Blame whoever gave her all that authority," I said. Voigt chuckled. "I was part of that decision, actually. I am Germany's Minister of Foreign Affairs, the equivalent of your country's Secretary of State." I paused my chewing. "Wow," I managed to say. I gulped down the mouthful. "You're the most high-ranking person I've ever met." "No, I'm not." He pointed to Strat. She put a piece of paper in front of me. "This is what led to the Hail Mary project." "You're showing him?" Voigt said. "Now? Without getting him a clearance?" Strat put her hand on my shoulder. "Dr. Ryland Grace, I hereby grant you top secret clearance to all information pertaining to Project Hail Mary." That's not what I meant," Voigt said. "There are processes and background checks to no time." Oh my God, I keep choking. Ugh. I hate having runny noses. Where was I? No time, Strat said. "No time for any of that stuff. That's why you put me in charge. Speed." I know soda does make it worse. I know. I'm aware. I should have made tea, but I didn't. It also doesn't help that I'm like leaning back in my seat. Oh my God. Let me just choke for a minute. Don't mind me. There we go. Where was I? Oh. She turned toward me and tapped the paper. "These are readings from amateur no, all over the world. They show something very important. The page had columns of numbers. I noticed the column titles: Alpha Centauri, Sirius, Luton 726-8, and so on. Stars, I said. These are all stars in our local cluster. And wait, did you say amateur as whatever? If you can tell the German Minister of Foreign Affairs what to do, why don't you have professional working for you? I fucking hate that word. I do, Strat said. But this is historical data collected over the past several years. Professionals don't study local stars. They look at faraway things. It's the amateurs who log data on local stuff, like train spotters. Hobbyists in their backyards. Some of them with tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. I picked up the paper. Okay, so what am I looking at? Luminosity readings, normalized across thousands of amateur-generated data sets and corrected for known weather and visibility conditions. So supercomputers were involved. The point is this: our sun is not the only star that's getting dimmer. Really? I said. Oh, that makes perfect sense. Astrophage can travel at 0.92 times the speed of light. If it can go dormant and stay alive long enough, it could infect nearby stars. It's spores, just like mold. It spreads from star to star. That's our theory, yes, said Strat. This data goes back decades. It's not deeply reliable, but the trends are there. The NSA back calculated that. Wait, NSA? The U.S. National Security Agency? They have some of the best supercomputers in the world. I needed their supercomputers and engineers to try all kinds of scenarios and propagation models for how astrophage could get around in the galaxy. Back to the point. These local stars have been dimming for decades, and the rate of dimming increases exponentially, just like we're seeing with the sun. She handed me another piece of paper. It had a bunch of dots connected by lines. Above each dot was a star name. Owing to the speed of light, our observations of the dimming had to be adjusted for the distances of the star and whatnot, but there's a clear pattern of infection from star to star. We know when each star was infected, and by which infected star. Our sun was infected by the star called Y0855-0714. That star was infected by Sirius, which is infected by Epsilon Eridani. From there, the trail goes cold. I peered at the chart. Huh. Y0855-0714. Also infected Wolf 359, Lalonde 21185, and Ross 128. Yes, every star eventually infects all of its neighbors. Judging from our data, we think astrophage has a maximum range of just under 8 light years. Any star within that range of an infected star will eventually be infected. I looked at the data. Why 8 light years? Why not more? Or less? Our best guess is the astrophage can only survive so long without a star, and it can coast about 8 light years in that time. That's sensible, from an evolution point of view, I said. Most stars have another star within 8 light years, so that's as far as astrophage had to evolve to travel while sporing. Probably, Strat said. Nobody noticed those stars getting dimmer? I said. They only get to about 10% dimmer before they stop dimming. We don't know why. It's not obvious to the naked eye, but if our sun dims by 10%, we're all dead, I said. Pretty much. Z leaned forward on the table. Her posture was extremely proper. Miss Strat has not told you the most important part yet. The Russian nodded. It was the first time I'd seen him move at all. Z continued. Do you know what Tau Ceti is? Do I know? I said. I mean, I know it's a star. It's about 12 light years away, I think. 11.9, said Z. Very good. Most would not know that. I teach junior high school science, I said. These things come up. Z and the Russian shot each other surprised looks. Then they both looked at Strat. Strat stared them down. There's more to him than that. Z regained her composure. Not that she'd lost much of it anyway. In any event, Tau Ceti is very much inside the cluster of infected stars. In fact, it is near the center. Okay, I said. I'm sensing there's something special about it. It is not infected, Z said. Every star around it is. There are 2 very infected stars well within 8 light years of Tau Ceti, yet it remains unaffected. Why? Strat shuffled through her papers. That's what we want to find out. So we're going to make a ship and send it there. I snorted. You can't just make an interstellar ship. We don't have the technology. We don't have anything close to the technology. The Russian spoke for the first time. Actually, my friend, we do. Strat gestured to the Russian. Dr. Komarov is... Please call me Dmitri. Oh, I always love that name. I love the name Dmitri, he said. Dmitri heads up the Russian Federation's research into astrophage, she said. It is a pleasure to meet you, he said. I'm happy to report that we can actually make interstellar voyage. No, we can't, I said. Unless you've got an alien spaceship you never told anyone about. In a way, we do, he said. We have many alien spaceships. We call them astrophage. You see? My group has studied the energy management of astrophage. It is very interesting. I suddenly forgot everything else going on in the room. Oh God. Please tell me you understand where that heat goes. I can't figure out what the heck it's doing with that heat energy. We have figured this out, yes, said Dmitri. With lasers, it was very illuminating experiment. Was that a pun? It was. Good one. We both laughed. Strat glared at us. Dmitri cleared his throat. Yes. We pointed tight focus 1 kilowatt lasers. We've pointed... What? Oh, we pointed tight focus 1 kilowatt laser at a single astrophage cell. As usual, it did not get hotter, but after 25 minutes, light starts to bounce off. Our little astrophage is full. Good meal. It consumed 1.5 megajoules of light energy. Does not want more. But this is very much energy. Where does it put all this energy? I'm leaning way too far forward over the table, but I can't help myself. Where? We measure astrophage cell before and after experiment, of course. Of course. Astrophage cell is now 17 nanograms heavier. You can see where this goes, yes? No, it can't be. It must have gained that weight from reactions within the air or something. No, it was in a vacuum for the test, of course. Oh my God. I was giddy. I have no idea what's happening, but I'm feeling excited for Grace. 17 nanograms times 9 times 10 to the 16th, 1.5 megajoules. I flopped back into my chair. Wow. This was how I felt, yes. Mass conversion. As the great Albert Einstein once said, E equals mc squared. There's an absurd amount of energy in mass. A modern nuclear plant can power an entire city for a year with the energy stored in just 1 kilogram of uranium. Yes, that's it. The entire output of a nuclear reactor for a year comes from a single kilogram of mass. Astrophage can, apparently, do this in either direction. It takes heat energy and somehow turns it into mass. Then, when it wants the energy back, it turns that mass back into energy in the form of Petrova frequency light. The astro is absorbing light and turning it into mass and energy to move. Thank you. Thank you for simplifying that for me. Oh geez. So not only is it a perfect energy storage medium, it's a perfect spaceship engine. Evolution can be insanely effective when you leave it alone for a few billion years. I rubbed my head. This is just crazy. In a good way, though. Is it internally producing antimatter, you think? Something like that? We do not know, but it definitely increases in mass, and then, after using light as thrust, it loses mass appropriate to energy released. That's... Dmitri, I want to hang out with you. Like, can we hang out? I'll buy you a beer, or vodka, or anything. I bet there's an officers' club on this boat, right? It would be my pleasure. Glad you're making friends, said Strat, but you've got a lot of work to do before you start hitting the bars. Me? What do I have to do? You need to design and create an astrophage breeding facility. I blinked. Then I shot to my feet. You're gonna make an astrophage-powered ship? They all nodded. Holy cow! It's the most efficient rocket fuel ever! How much would we need to... Oh, 2 million kilograms, right? That's why you wanted to know how long it would take to make that much. Yes, said Z. For a 100,000 kilogram ship, we would need 2 million kilograms of astrophage to get it to Tau Ceti. And thanks to you, we now know how to activate the astrophage and make it generate thrust as well. Oh, thrust at will. I sat back down, pulled out my phone, and launched the calculator app. This would take, a lot of energy. More energy than the world has. It'd be around 10 to third joules. What? It would take it would be around 10 to 23rd joules. The largest nuclear reactor on Earth makes about 8 gigawatts. It would take that reactor 2 million years to create that much energy. We have ideas for finding the energy, said Strat. Your job is to make the breeder. Start small and get a prototype going. Okay, sure, I said, but I didn't exactly love the militaries of the world grand tour on the way here. Can I take a passenger jet home? Coach is fine. You are home, said Strat. The flight hangar is empty. Just tell me what you need, including staff, and I'll make it happen. I looked at the others in the conference room. Z, Voight, and Dimitri all nodded. Yes, this was real. No, Strat wasn't kidding. I feel so bad for Gray since he only he only now knows that the world's ending. Since now that he knows the world's ending, he's finding people he vibes with. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, that gave me a stroke trying to read it, Skelly. Why? I demanded. Why the heck can't you just be normal, Strat? If you want fast military transport, well, okay, but why not just work at an airbase or something sane people would do? Because we'll be experimenting with a bunch of astrophage once we breed it up. And if we accidentally activate even a couple of kilograms of that stuff, the resulting explosion will be bigger than the largest nuclear bomb ever made. Tsar Bomba. Bomba? Said Dimitri. Made by my country. 50 megatrons. Boom. Strat continued. So we'd rather be out in the middle of the ocean where we won't eradicate any cities. Oh, I said. You're fine, Skelly. I'm just joking with you. And as we get more and more astrophage, we'll go further and further out to sea. Anyway, head down to the hangar deck. I have carpenters building accommodations and offices as we speak. Pick some you like and lay claim. This is your life now, said Dimitri. Welcome. And that was the end of chapter 5, guys. Oof. That's crazy. There was so much scientific jargon. I think I suddenly became like a pro at science, you know? Anyway, don't leave just yet. We're gonna go raid somebody. Also, stream tomorrow. It is Outlast. I know it's your guys' favorite because you like watching me piss myself every time I play it, okay? So that is tomorrow. I might try and do maybe like a bit of a longer stream tomorrow, or at least an earlier stream. Let me see. Who's streaming? Who's still streaming? Okay. I know who we shall go and raid. Let me get set up here. Wait until Rocky Species. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for that. I am. I really am. Let's go raid. Okay, I know who we're gonna go raid. Let me type it in. Oh shit, I spelled that wrong. But yes, anyway, stream tomorrow. It is Outlast. Hopefully I will see you then. If not, I will catch you in the next one. Have a good night, day, whatever it may be for you travelers, and bye-bye.